宏远的对抗错去，大观园是这样的吗？我也不必这样子。Rupture, Poise, debuffs, unbreakable coins. Long ago, the four effects were only possessed by ChiliChill Ishmael. Then, everything changed when Yu attacked. No longer is there a family hierarchy, only the self-proclaimed Lord of Hongyuan. My name is Jan, and I will be talking about the new seasonal highlight identity for Season 6 Zhang Huayin for the 8th count of the surrendered witnessing Lord of Hongyuan, RuLu. To those who have yet not done their research or neither have looked into him and just waited until it's time to shard, since he'll be shoutable in a few days, this is the video for you. And when this kit first revealed, I took it upon myself to summarize it for some of my friends. And I wrote it like this. A Poise Rupture Hazes family support identity with snowballing DPS capabilities that can enable others to deal extremely high damage via buffs. You can also forcefully retreat low HP Hazes IDs and grant buffs and attacks on their turn. Well, this isn't everything. He's even more complex than I thought. Or I just left out some things. And that's the reason for this video. I will be delving in depth into his kit so you can all understand the nitty-gritty things of how Lord of Hongyuan became the Lord of Hongyuan. Now, let's quickly go over his stats. At the current level 55 cap, he has a max HP of 181 and also has two staggered thresholds at 65% and 35%, which is pretty bad. But his HP is technically higher than that, and we will talk about it later. His minimum speed is 4 and his maximum speed is 8, which makes him above average already, but he can go even faster than that, which also will be explained later. Yes, I will be saying this often, because most of his juice comes from his passives. His defense level 2, which is just +3, can also go higher. The Lord of Hongyuan, lording all over Hongyuan, also has a special sanity system, or rather has 2 changes made to it. Alongside the basic sanity system, he also gains 5 sanity when an ally dies and will lose 10 sanity whenever he loses a clash. This increases by 10% with every consecutive clash count he clashes with. Unless it is the start of the battle, these will not come up often at all. This is also not a sign to kill off your Hazes. Please don't kill your pets, as we do not have enough of them right now. Maybe in the future, but certainly not now. In conclusion, his stats, aside from his speed, seem to be really bad. But once you dig deeper, which I will explain later, his stats are simply incredible, and even if they are bad, he is still technically a support by killing everyone first, and so his stats don't really matter that much. Let's start with the basics. But I do want to mention one thing. The offense level you see on the skills, they are a lie. So don't depend on them. From the many buffs he grants himself, often he will clash way higher and deal far higher damage than what the offense level first tells you. So keep that in mind. With that, first of all, his skill 1. This is a very good skill 1 on paper, and in practice, also really good. It has a base roll of 12, and that makes it an above average rolling skill 1, as normally identities only roll an 11. With some poise on himself, and Rupture, and debuffs on the enemy, it'll roll a 15. But remember that RuLu often clashes higher than that, and we will get to that at the end of the video, so don't worry. The only effect that happens before attack is a combat start effect, which gives 1 defense power up to 1 plus highest resonance divided by 3 to other allies. So, for example, if you have 6 gluttony resonance and it is the highest resonance you have, then 6 divided by 3, that's 2 plus 1, then you will give 1 defense power up to 3 other allies. This can only be used once per turn and to a max of 3 allies can be buffed at a time, but it will prioritize those with an assist defense. What is an assist defense? All comes with time, my friend. Probably a Chinese proverb, I know. This will buff the clashable guards and counters of your Heiso allies, which, since they don't clash at the highest number and you're sometimes forced to use it, can help you to get out of a tough situation. When attacking, it has 2 effects. On his first skill, coin, he will grant himself Poise count. There is no Poise potency in sight, so this is a very nice effect to have to just build up some Poise counts before he loses it all by critting. On his second coin, he will inflict 2 Rupture count. I will explain his Poise and Rupture count economy later on when everything is explained, but from this skill alone, just this, including all crits and end of turn decay, his Poise and Rupture counts are neutral on the skill 1, which is alright. I wouldn't say it's broken, but you can't ask too much from a skill 1, but this is a great start. We still have a skill 2, 3, defense and passives to talk about. Now, his skill 2, oh my, it's kinda crazy. First of all, this is a 4 coin skill, 2 of which are unbreakable, but we all know that win. These are very rare, and often as a downside don't roll as high. Hongyuan rolls a base of 15, which is below the average of skill 2s, which usually roll a 16, sometimes even an 18, but this is average for 4 coin skill 2s. Taking ChiliChill's Ishmael skill 2 for example, hers clashes at a 14 base. Another skill 2 that just so happens to also be gluttony, also have 4 coins, also rolls a 15, is Swai Associating Salt Section for Gregor, as just another example of skill 2s with 4 coins. This skill 2 can roll up to a max of 23, with Poise and Rupture conditionals, which makes him above average again. He just keeps getting everything. Usually, the norm is that 2 coin skills roll 20 and 3 and 4 coin skills roll 22. So he has more coins and he rolls higher, just to do a lot more damage. Back on track, this time he has 2 effects that happen before attacking. At combat start, he will grant every other identity that equipped a gluttony skill 1 gluttony damage up. This effect only be able to activate it once per turn. It's just a free 10% damage buff to everyone that uses gluttony. And in a Rupture team, this is happening pretty often. Second, he gains 3 Poise potency. No count. Nope. This is a bit annoying when you're at low Poise counts, but you can't have everything, you know? Now, every one of his coins have an effect on it. His first coin applies +1 Rupture counts. I sure do hope he has more. His second coin gives him +2 Poise count. I sure do hope he has more. The third coin applies +1 Rupture potency. And with his fourth coin, he deals 50% more damage and 50% more crit damage. Conditionals? No conditionals. He just always has 50% more damage and 50% more crit damage for some reason. Also, it reflects 3 Rupture potency. Yay! It was very funny to see this when his kit was revealed. You just see unbreakable coin, deals more damage, deals more crit damage. Yeah, it's kinda insane. Well, his skill 2 rolls higher than average. It has 4 coins. It deals 3 damage extra. It's very good, but it has obvious flaws. which there are 2 of, and they're related to his Poise and Rupture. This skill goes -3 Rupture negative and -2 Poise negative, -3 with turn to gain. This can be lightly patched with one of his passives, but it's still not good enough. Still though, this skill will deal a lot of damage and help his good boys and girls to do more damage too. In conclusion, a pretty good skill. This will be a long one, so get ready. We have only now gotten to his skill. Well, his skill tree is pretty complex at first sight, but when you boil it down, it's pretty easy. Answer me, Hazes packs. The skill tree you will be getting on your dashboard is a high rolling skill with a singular unbreakable coin with no damage conditionals. That's pretty bad, right? But let him cook. It rolls a base of 22 and can go up to a 25 with conditionals. Usually skill trees roll a base of 17, so 22 is pretty damn high, but it is a single coin to make it fair. 25 is also above average for skill trees with their max conditionals, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. This skill cannot trigger defense skills, allowing him to bypass clashable guards and counters and the normal defensive skills, but I don't really see the usefulness of this against specifically normal defensive skills, but I can try to explain it. Why is it useful? Let's go into his effects first. I'll first go over his coins, since the effect of the skill is way more potent than the coins itself. On hits, he will apply -1 OS level for every 2 negative effects and -1 defense level for every dash right for this turn only, up to a max of 3 for each. You might think, wow, this is pretty bad, unless he's fast. Which he is, but still, these numbers are bad. Every point of offense level down is -3.3% damage, and you lose 1 clash power per 3. And enemies take 3.3 more damage for every point of defense level down. Essentially, this is 1 clash power down and 1 fragile for this turn only. Still, I will call this skill tree very strong. Why? Well, first, on use you get 5 poise potency and 3 poise count. Ooh, finally some good poise count. But this isn't exactly what makes this skill good. What does make it good is after attack. Among ally Hazes units that can act, choose one with the least unrelenting storm and earliest in deployment order. Bestow exalted command once per turn. What's an unrelenting storm and what's an exalted command? Well, unrelenting storm stacks up to 2 times and is a permanent buff. For every stack, it buffs the identity by 1 offense level and 1 defense level. It's a nice little gift, you know. The real kicker though is exalted command. The chosen Hazes ally will perform an unopposed skill tree on the enemy RuLu just attacked. What's the catch? There is no catch. After the ally performs their skill tree, RuLu will follow up himself with a skill tree -1, where he performs a combo attack with a chosen Hazes ally. Each combo attack uses a unique animation. It does use repurposed sprites, yes, but still unique animations. It's really cool. I'll link a video in the description where every animation is displayed. Then, after this attack, he will get a unique permanent buff called Hazes Bolus Contamination Hazes Wanran. This is what I meant by the lightly patched, previously mentioned in the skill 2 description. After this combo attack, he will gain a buff corresponding to the chosen Hazes ally, and they are as follows. Meow Adept Faust, he will gain take -5% damage from skills. Hazes Meow Ryoshu, deal +5% damage when attacking slower enemies. Hazes Meow Altis, inflict +1 rupture count on unopposed attacks once per turn. Hazes Oriodion, inflict 1 rupture on critical hits 3 times per turn. Hazes Gregor, +1 poise count when dealing rupture damage. These buffs are not only permanent but can stack as well, up to 11, and we so happen to have 11 cylinder slots excluding RuLu, meaning this will get updated and stronger every time we get a new Hazo. There are some buffs which are better and some which are worse. I will get into this deeper later, but for now, Altis can fix his awful Rupture count infliction and Gregor can fix his bad Poise count. I'll get into more detail later, but these are objectively the best buffs you can get, which should make you put them earlier in deployment order, but there is an argument to be made to place a certain someone else earlier. Going back to the previously mentioned cannot activate defense skill clause, this allows other Hazos to clash instead of RuLu himself, as their skill trees usually roll even higher than RuLu. They can also then take the damage from counters if any, but against evade specifically, this is more of a downside than an upside, as Hazos usually have a lot of coins, so most of them will get evaded pretty easily, and guards just kind of exist. I will go over this skill quickly because aside from the buff you get and the free skill tree, it's not really that important. The skill tree -1 rolls up to a 20, but when comboing with meow fast, it'll roll a 23. Yippee! It has 2 coins and inflicts +1 rupture count, +2 rupture potency, and 1/ resist down, and only for this turn. On kill though, with the second coin, 2 Hazo allies with the lowest sanity will be healed by 10 and gain 1 attack power up next turn. It also deals +50% crit damage on his second coin only, a max of 50% extra damage based on missing HP, 30% extra damage based on negative effects, and 110% damage with the bolus buff. But this is inhuman and you usually just get 10 or 20%. It has a lot of damage conditionals, but due to its low coin count and lower roll, it won't deal that much damage. Back to its original skill tree, when you're unable to grant an exalted command because the chosen ally is staggered, defeated, or you already performed one this turn, you will instead use his skill tree -2, Lonesome Stand, Sacrifice to claim the garden, 姐姐诞生是圣屈原. Is compared to its counterpart skill tree -1 very powerful. To make a long story short, it do big damage. He deals additional damage for every life from death, 死痛救活. He has up to a max of 50%. Life from death is another unique status effect, and he gains 1 for every Hazo that has died in this battle. For every stack he gains offense level, max of 5, defense level for every 2, max of 2, and attack power up at 3+ stacks. So basically 2 clash power up and almost a defense power up. He will deal increased damage based on his missing HP again, up to 50% yet again. At 3+ life from death stacks, this skill will also gain attack rate, so it becomes a 2 attack rate skill. He will also deal increased damage again based on negative effects and bonuses, up to a max of 30% and 110% respectively, like aforementioned. This skill has 3 coins running a base of 18 and a max of 27. The first 2 coins just inflict 1 rupture potency, but the last coin however inflicts rupture as well, / resist down for the next turn, and 2 attack power up for self on kill only. Expect this skill to do a lot of damage. The only downside it has is when you see the skill being used, you either seriously messed up or just have a lot of skill trees and use multiples. Though it is worth mentioning that the animation for this skill, really cool. VFX, really awesome. SFX, sweet. His skill tree is what makes him the Lord of Hongyuan, and he certainly proves his worth. This is one of the best skill trees in the game due to basically using 2 skill trees with 1 skill. It is especially funny in Mirror Dungeon with the Rust Coin E.G.O gift, skill tree into ally skill tree into skill tree -1 into skill tree into skill tree -2 for a total of 5 skills in 1 skill. Basically a long cutscene, and it's worth it. Gee, RuLu, how come Project Moon let you get 2 defensive skills? Trauma. Yes, you heard it right, RuLu has 2 of them thanks, though only uses 1 himself. The one he uses is a clashable counter with an unbreakable coin that rolls at 13 at base and no conditionals, making it bad for clashing. Like really bad, unless it is the start of the fight, but you are gambling with a 50-50. But you don't use this to do damage nor win clashes at all, it's purely for support. First, at combat start, it gives allies up to highest resonance 1/power up once per turn. And since all Hazes have some or only slash skills, this is universally well liked. Second, at combat start as well, if there are backup units, he will grant your will guide my blade to the Haze with the least HP. They will then retreat and heal 10% of their max HP at turn end. Do take note that they are placed earlier in the return line and only to non-Haze identities. This also does not mean backup identities, so backup identities still take priority, so it's more to only use one backup unit to have them be able to be switched in immediately. There's also synergy with Yashi-chun Ismail, as she can switch out on her own to let them back in. Your will guides my blade is like Exalted Command, but worse. Instead of using an unopposed skill 3, they will use an unopposed skill 1, which is still fine, especially on mouse, when the enemy has that right haste. Is it called that right haste? Probably. This might not seem that great at first, but after this section and going to his passive, all will be revealed by the myriad truths. If there are no backup units though, instead of forcing them to exit the battle like other retreat identities, he will just not let them leave and instead give them 2 attack power up. His second defensive skill is one he will literally never use. Its only effect is to make it so even though it is counted as an assist defense, it does not count as one on him specifically. It has a base of 10 and 11 with conditionals, making it horrible, but it's not for his personal use, and you will hear about it in the passives. So we finally got to the passives after like 20 minutes, a half an hour, I haven't checked. It's been a long journey, so let's get on with it. It's been a trend to give identities an always active passive, and he has one as well. Whenever an ally enters the battlefield from substituting or returning, they heal 10 sanity and use an unopposed skill 1 at combat start. This is pretty nice in itself, but whenever a Haze or Ja family identity enters the battlefield, instead they are healed for 20 sanity and use an unopposed skill 3. This can only be activated twice per encounter, but all I hear is 2 free skill trees per encounter. Haze skill trees are notorious for being absolutely nuts, and RuLu allowing them to use them immediately when they enter the battlefield helps them to build Rupture on the enemy and will grant them their brand specific status effect to get to fighting at maximum power sooner. He will also grant himself another permanent buff called Leaseholder of all Haze, which stacks up to 11 and you gain 1 stack for every Haze that has entered the battlefield or is in backup. The buffs are as follows. For every 1 stack, gain 1 max speed, maximum of 5 and deal plus 1% damage. For every 2 stacks, gain 1 minimum speed, maximum of 2 and 1 defense level up, maximum of 5. For every 3 stacks, gain 1 offense level up, maximum of 3. At 5 plus stacks, grant Haze identities plus 1 offense level and plus 1 damage up. That means that his true stats become speed of 6 to 13, plus 8 defense level, plus 4 offense level for his skill 1, plus 5 for skill 2, and plus 6 for all of his skill 3s, and plus 11% more damage on all of his skills, and he buffs Hazes again for a bit. But you know, every little bit will amount to a lot. It just becomes absurd, and it doesn't even end here. At last he deals 5% more damage for every bolus he has, so a max of 55%, but you'll more often than not usually just reach 10%, maybe 15% if you get lucky. More very often just 5%. I really didn't want to make this video that long, but it just became that way with how they just kept giving this man everything he needs and doesn't. But I don't mind it, absolutely not. Also, yes, there's an also, he heals 20 sanity when an Hazes ally dies, and this is also how he gets those life from death stacks. With his unique sanity, he heals 25 sanity for every Hazes death. And he still has another passive. When 5 gluttony sin resources are owned, this passive activates, but it is partially a sin resonance passive as well. If RuLu did not equip a defense skill this turn, he applies the status effect Lord's Guard to highest resonance divided by 3 to random Hazes allies, a maximum of 2. That means you only need 6 highest resonance to get the maximum effect of this. This effect will also ignore allies that already own assist defense, which right now is only adept fast. Assist defense makes it so whenever an ally would take an unopposed attack while not having equipped a defense skill, this ally will clash with an unopposed attack with their assist defensive skill. Lord's Guard works somewhat like that. It is a unique assist defense which will only protect RuLu when he were to take an unopposed attack whenever he did not equip a defensive skill, using his Lord's Guard defensive skill. This will cause his Hazes to become practically living shields, protecting him whenever he would take damage from unopposed attack and prolonging his life. This boosts his survivability, yes, but he has more ways to protect himself, and they are part of his passive too. If RuLu were to take lethal damage, he will instead nullify the damage, and his HP will then be unable to be taken down to 0 for that turn only, and then he will gain 1 tarnished blood at turn end. This can only be triggered once per turn. Free built-in immortality. Can this identity get even more overpowered? Yes, he can, but beware that the tarnished blood turn end drain can kill him, but only the turn after. And this can also be prevented by killing himself. You heard me right. If you have the premium WoW E.G.O Tears of the Tarnished Blood ChiliChill from this season, you will get Flower Burying Wedge Meihuajian on E.G.O use. He will be unable to die from his HP drain, but he will die from the E.G.O itself, right? Normally yes, but RuLu has built-in immunity because of course he does. Once per encounter, at least, he can nullify the death effect and will instead heal 60% of his max HP and will permanently gain 1 damage up. For someone so against immortality, he sure has a lot of layers to it. Kinda reminds me of a certain monkey. And for every tarnished blood he has, he will also deal 3% more damage, so up to a max of 15% as it maxes out at 5 stacks. So technically he has 289 HP and no stacker bars, as he can just ignore lethal damage. Do you now understand why I told you not to trust his stats? It's kinda... yeah. And at the very last, he has a support passive. When 6 gluttony sin resources are owned, the identity with the least HP will deal 3% more damage for every type of death rite on an enemy up to a max of 50%, which right now is unable to be achieved because there are only 3 types of death rites. So 9% more damage, which is nice, but you will never use his support passive. And now onto my favorite subject, his Poise and Rupture count economics, the subject I failed. Rupture count economy without the buff is 0 for skill 1, -3 for skill 2, -1 for skill 3, -1 for skill 3-1, and -3 for skill 3-2. With the Altus buff, which means on an unopposed attack once per turn, do note I will not be saying skill 3-1 and skill 3-2 again, because it is once per turn and you're forced to use skill 3 to get to them, so it doesn't take effect on them. This makes it so skill 1 goes +1, skill 2 goes -2, and skill 3 goes neutral. Onto his Poise economy, if all crits, including turn and decay, it will be plus 0 on his skill 1, minus 2 on his skill 2, plus 1 on his skill 3, minus 2 on his skill 3-1, and minus 3 on his skill 3-2. But with the Gregor buff, attacking an enemy with Rupture also once per turn, so I will not be saying skill 3-1 and skill 3-2 again. Then his Poise economy becomes plus 1 on skill 1, minus 2 on skill 2, and plus 2 on skill 3. Well, in the end, what can you do with him? These sections will be incredibly short as they are pretty serviceable information. For team building, just use as many Hazes as you can, as Rupture has been in a bad spot for a very long time, and every new Rupture identity and by proxy Hazes identities will immediately be an upgrade to older Rupture identities. The more Hazes there are, the stronger he becomes. It really is that simple. If you don't have Hazes, it's pretty recommended to not use him. Even a few will be far better than none. He truly lives and dies by his Hazes. His Rupture application is bad, and his Poise isn't that great, so you really need to depend on those Hazes boys and girls. For E.G.Os, Lasso is your only real option for his stat slot. But you can use Soda as he can crit, and the Sin resources required align. On his He slot, you have two great options. Effervescent Corrosion is a raw 32 roller that can have up to 4 attack weight depending on how low his HP is, and with the many layers of insurance he has, you can definitely walk the line of death. It applies Rupture by Gluttony Resonance divided by 2, 2 Gluttony Fragility next turn, and 2 by next turn, so it perfectly synergizes with the meow Hazes. The E.G.O passive is a bit less, only activating at half HP and less, where he inflicts 1 Rupture potency to the attacker every time he's attacked for Gluttony Resonance time, which is fine I guess with his immortality, but it's nothing great. Though the other good E.G.O is Dimension Shredder. It rolls a raw 28 and has a base of 20 for when you're low at sanity, while Effervescent Corrosion only has a less reliable 17. This E.G.O makes him gain charge and haste, and also inflicts 1 fragile and 4 dimensional rift, which amounts to plus 4 rupture count, which can help his very bad rupture count application. And the passive causes him to have another layer of immortality, as if 2 was not enough. When hitting an enemy with a negative status effect, he will gain 1 charge count, up to 4 per turn, which allows him to always have charge. This is also helpful to apply W Corp's Yi-Sang support passive on him for even more damage. The real cherry on the cake is when his HP falls to 0 for the first time in battle, he will instead consume all charge counts and heal his % equal to the amount consumed, up to a max of 25%, but unable to be achieved without charge count support, so a max of 20%, which you usually will not be able to achieve. Maybe. This further increases his technical HP to 335, which is just stupid. So, what do I think of this identity myself? He's a lot of fun and feels very powerful with the correct team. It's just satisfying to land all those skill tree combos. Though I've heard some people disliking him because of his extremely strict team building, which I can understand. If you accidentally miss a Hazes, you will be waiting a few scenes until they are shardable. That's like a whole year. But if you have everything prepared, you will definitely feel unbeatable with this Lord of Hongyuan. And with that, I end my video. Thank you for sticking to the end. This is the first time I tried long form content and voiced content, so I hope it is well received. If there's feedback for what I should change, maybe talk a whole lot less, or make it sound a bit more fun, or more serious, please do tell me. Thank you again, and maybe until next time.